Ego by Nicole.
I am 32 years old and reside in a quaint town located roughly a 50-minute drive from Boston. Each morning, I brew a cup of espresso, tune in to the weather report, and stroll to my office, which is just a block from my home. I co-founded a biotech startup in the healthcare sector, a role that's quite challenging to articulate, particularly to those who perceive office work as merely data entry throughout the day. My family has always seemed oblivious to my pursuits, or perhaps they simply lacked the interest to delve deeper. To them, I've always been the unconventional younger sister, the one who favored simplicity in her attire, rarely adorned herself with makeup, and was perpetually attached to her laptop or engaged in some discussion. Claire, my older sister, is the one they hold in high regard. She's always been the ideal daughter in their eyes, being 3 years my senior. Elegant, poised, gentle in speech, and delightful. In family photos, I remained a mere whisper behind Claire's brilliance. During Thanksgiving or Christmas, family members would come together around her, showering her with admiration. "Claire, you look absolutely breathtaking in that dress. Oh Claire, your new boyfriend is a physician. Remarkable.
What about ME?
If anyone even recalled my presence, the usual line was, "Nicole, oh, she's involved in biotech, I believe." They conversed as though I were merely an afterthought, tucked away at the bottom of the page. I once believed that through relentless effort and by remaining in the shadows, shouldering the burden, my parents would eventually recognize my worth and feel the same pride in me as they did for Claire. However, that is not the case. Every gaze, every hope, every praise, they were perpetually directed towards her.
What about ME?
I have often been aloof, unapproachable, and challenging to engage in conversation. They had no idea I was at the office until the clock struck midnight, managing a crisis for a public health project valued at nearly $2 million and 0 cents. They never inquired about the experience of creating a company from the ground up alongside 3 college friends. When inquiries about my family arise, I merely offer a subtle smile and respond, "We haven't been in touch for some time." It's insignificant. It's not that I'm concealing anything, it's simply that there are no more words to share. It's been more than 2 years since we last spoke. Silence, absence of communication, and no acknowledgement of the special day. Only silence remains, akin to a severed thread that no one took the time to mend. I once thought that family was the sanctuary to which one could always come back. However, on my mother's birthday, that conviction was broken. The calendar had turned to late March. I had just wrapped up a successful funding round with an investment firm based in New York. I intended to take 3 days off and return early to assist my parents in preparing for my mom's birthday, just as I always have.
Nothing extravagant.
I simply aimed to lend a hand, as I often do. When I made the call to inform them, it was my dad who answered. "I intend to return ahead of schedule. Feel free to tell me if there's anything you would like me to gather or get ready," I mentioned. His voice lingers in my memory. Not angry, simply unusual. After a brief moment of silence, he took a breath and cleared his throat. "Nicole, if you can, please avoid coming home this year." I paused for a moment, considering that perhaps he was concerned I was overwhelmed with my responsibilities.
It's all right, Dad.
My schedule is already cleared.
I truly desire to be present.
This time, his voice carried a resolute strength. "Cole, Claire is introducing her new boyfriend. He holds the position of Chief Financial Officer. Articulate and evidently accomplished."
What do you do for a living?
It's a bit challenging to articulate. Your presence would only lead to comparisons and create an uncomfortable atmosphere. Therefore, it would be wise for you to remain. I felt a complete void. A weight settled in my chest, a frigid sensation slithering down my spine. I tightened my hold on the phone and spoke through gritted teeth. "Are you implying that I tarnish the family's reputation? So, I'm not welcome at home because I'm a source of shame?" He chose not to retract it. Indeed, he reinforced his stance. "If you are determined to join us, then do not refer to me as your father." After that, he ended the call.
Without adopt. Without hesitation.
My apartment fell into an unsettling silence. The espresso cup I held had turned cold. I gazed into the void as if the universe had split apart with just one phrase. I remained composed. I simply remained in my seat. And for the very first time in my existence, a profound realization dawned upon me. I found myself detached from the family I had endeavored to keep united. I settled into my well-worn armchair by the window, the early spring sunlight streaming through the sheer white curtains, yet it failed to dispel the lingering chill within me. My father's words resonated once more, unmistakable and definitive. If you are determined to join us, then, please refrain from referring to me as your father. I gazed at my hands.
My fingers quivered.
Not out of anger, but from a place that runs much deeper.
The moment of no return.
I had always believed that even if I would never experience love like Claire, I was still their daughter. It appears that I was not. I rose from my seat and made my way to my desk. I promptly opened my laptop and accessed my banking app. For more than 2 years, I had been transferring funds to my parents each month, taking care of their electric bill, water, internet, and even cable. Almost $600, with nothing extra, each month, not including the additional funds I'd send whenever Mom mentioned the fridge was on the fritz or Dad's car required repairs. They never inquired whether I had the means to pay for it. It was mentioned that Claire is having a tough time following her job change. Your assistance would be greatly appreciated. And I contributed. Silently. As though it were my obligation. It feels as though I entered into an unspoken agreement the instant I began to earn. I accessed the transaction history and began to scroll through it. The total has emerged. $15,720 and no cents. My heart plummeted. Not due to any feelings of regret. Yet, despite everything, I still felt inadequate. I lingered over each bill.
Power, water supply, internet connectivity. Tap. Next, another one.
Alerts appeared on the screen. Your auto payment has been cancelled successfully.
Silence Reikens.
There are no alerts.
Only quietude.
Just as I have always been a part of my family. That evening, rest eluded me. Not due to any feelings of anger. Yet, my mind was consumed with the way events transpired. Regarding my father's words. It's astonishing how my whole family was ready to overlook me simply to make an impression on Claire's new boyfriend, a man I hadn't even had the chance to meet. I had faced comparisons throughout my life, but this marked the first instance of public rejection. It feels as though my presence is merely a burden. Mom's birthday arrived in no time.
I chose not to call.
I chose not to send a card. I refrained from sharing anything online. Not out of malice, but because I could no longer maintain the facade. At precisely 5 p.m., while I reclined on my balcony, enjoying a cup of peppermint tea, my phone vibrated. It was my mother. I gazed at the screen for a moment, then allowed it to fade into darkness. A message arrived immediately afterward.
Nicole, what's going on with the power outage?
Could you take a look for us? I placed my tea aside and unfolded the next note from my father. There is no water.
Disconnected from the web.
Reach out to the providers. Your mother is quite anxious. I remained still, my gaze locked on the treetops beyond. There is no anger. Without struggle.
A haunting stillness envelops the scene.
They never inquired, are you alright?
Silence surrounds the phone call.
They simply expected me to continue with my usual approach.
Organize the chaos.
Suddenly, a message arrived from Claire. The internet is out, guests are on their way, and Mom is nearly in tears.
What's happening?
I reached for my phone and began to type.
3 weeks prior?
My dad said that if I was determined to return home, I shouldn't refer to him as my father. I'm simply following his instructions. If this poses a challenge, perhaps consider seeking someone you feel proud to present. I chose not to send it. It has been removed. Not out of regret, but because I understood that regardless of my words, they would only listen to what aligned with their own views. I placed the phone aside, reclined in my chair, and shut my eyes. My small apartment was serene and tranquil. All is well. No critical gazes. There are no requests. The following day, Claire recorded a voicemail. Mother has been in tears since yesterday evening. Are you aware of the significance of yesterday? My boyfriend met the family for the first time, and it all went downhill from there. Your self-centeredness is quite apparent. I absorbed the entire message, then switched off my phone. For years, I had not prioritized my own needs. The moment had arrived. I accessed my work email and reviewed the weekend operations report. One subject line caught my attention. Personnel from New Jersey are relocating to Boston. Pending approval. I perused the attached list, glanced over the names, and, at that moment, I paused. Liam Prescott. The mere mention of that name sent a thrill through me. I recalled it, as just 3 days prior, my mother had brought it up. Claire's partner, Liam, is employed at a prominent company. I narrowed my eyes at the file. Present role. Director of Finance, New Jersey branch. Moving to the Boston headquarters. Authorized. Nicole Warren. Co-founder. I emitted a soft chuckle. Merely an instinctive reaction. The world felt more compact than I had imagined. And I was aware. The onset of what lay ahead had only just started. I remained motionless before my laptop, my hand poised over the mouse, a hollow ache in my chest, as if a fragment of my cherished memory had been wrenched away. Almost $16,000. Nothing at all. Each and every penny has been covered by me, consistently, month after month, without the need for reminders or any delays. And yet, they had never uttered a word of gratitude. Not a single time. I revisited the payment list, noticing the same entries appearing once more. $192.48 for my electricity bill. $136.72, the cost of my water. $248.50 for my internet and cable services. Month after month, as if I were their volunteer financial advisor. Invisible. Overlooked. Neglected. I recalled the final phone call with my mom, nearly a year back, when she rang me around midnight simply to say, "Nicole, a pipe in the bathroom has burst. Could you make a phone call to someone? Claire is enjoying a getaway with her boyfriend. You're the sole survivor. You are the sole survivor." It appeared innocuous, yet it concealed a harsh reality. I didn't feel the affection that a daughter should receive. I became the answer when those they genuinely valued were absent. And now, after being told not to return home because my presence was deemed unappealing, I finally grasped the reality of the situation. Throughout all these years, my efforts have never been met with affection. I found that I was only acknowledged when there was a bill to settle or an issue to resolve, yet in my moments of need, I was met with silence. Once more, my phone illuminated, revealing a message from my mom. "Nicole, I understand things were a bit heated yesterday, but it would be wonderful if you could handle the internet bill. Claire is working to maintain a peaceful atmosphere with the guests." I gazed at the message as if I were a mere observer. No regrets. There is no reference to the harsh dismissal from my father. Yet another request, as usual. I placed the phone aside, choosing not to respond. I ventured out onto the porch, settling into the wooden chair beneath the waning April sun. Boston had yet to embrace warmth, yet the brisk air brought a refreshing clarity to my thoughts. I reflected on Liam, Claire's new partner, who is also set to join our team soon. The irony indeed. My family left me out of Mom's birthday celebration because of him, even though he was supposed to report directly to me. If existence were a jest, this would surely be its greatest quip. I made my way back to my desk and clicked open the email. The subject line captured attention. Confirmation of new hire, Liam Prescott. Relocate to the Boston office. I opened the profile. All elements aligned perfectly. Years, knowledge, qualifications. An expertly crafted resume. Precisely the type that would catch Claire's interest. Well-read, accomplished, and captivating in writing. I examined the photo that was attached. Something reminiscent. In that moment, a realization struck me. We had a brief encounter at a conference around 6 months back. He extended his hand and courteously referred to me as co-founder Warren, yet we both failed to establish the connection. Or rather, I never had enough interest in Claire to find out who the man next to her was. At this moment, I found myself faced with a decision. Please either approve the transfer or deny it. Yet, I was aware that no action was required on my part. Life had already crafted the ideal narrative. I simply had to take a step back and observe the unfolding drama when Claire discovered that her boyfriend had reported to the sister who brought shame to the family. The following day, Liam made his way to the office. He entered my space with a folder in hand, his expression a touch strained. As I glanced upward, his gaze met mine, then grew wide with astonishment. "Is that you, Nicole?" he inquired gently. I offered a subtle smile, serene and collected. "Greetings from Pacific Genomics. I will be examining the complete financial strategy for this quarter. I eagerly anticipate collaborating with you." Liam stood still, caught in a moment of disbelief. His face flushed, then grew ashen. No one in my family was aware that I played a role in founding this company. No one had ever inquired about the true nature of my work. They merely presumed I was an unremarkable office employee. I remained silent, simply guiding the contract in his direction. Liam accepted it and silently exited the room. I reclined in my chair. I felt a sense of discontent. I felt no sadness. It seemed as though the wheel had finally turned. This time, silence spoke volumes. The truth revealed itself clearly. On the morning of my mother's birthday, the sky over Boston wore an unexpected shade of gray. A dense fog enveloped the surroundings, rendering everything indistinct, as if the universe was poised for an impending revelation. I brewed a robust cup of black coffee, settled by the window, and gazed out at the vacant yard. I had no intentions of doing anything. Silence, no messages, no phone calls, no celebration post. I simply wished for events to unfold precisely as they were meant to, without my involvement. At 9 a.m., my phone vibrated with a sudden buzz. Initial communication from Mother. "Nicole, my dear, it seems the power has gone out. Could you take a look for us? Today holds significant meaning." I set the phone down on the table, screen facing the surface. Consistent tone. Soft, tender, as if the past had never touched them. As if my father hadn't made it clear that I brought shame to the family and should stay away. 15 minutes passed, and another message arrived. "This moment comes from Father. Power is still out. The water isn't flowing either. Are there any issues with the payments? Reach out to the provider immediately." Concise. Chilly.
No worries.
There was no reference to my exclusion from the party. Simply an instruction. As if I remained their logistics manager. A heavy sigh escaped me. For 2 years, I consistently met every payment deadline. Power, hydration, connectivity, television. I called off each one after another, on the night my father ended it all with a final hang-up. Because I was difficult to present. On the day Claire was set to introduce her boyfriend to the family, the house was a whirlwind of activity. Power is out. Devoid of water. Disconnected from the web. Precisely as anticipated. By 11 a.m., the messages began to pour in. "Mother. Nicole. Kindly. I implore you. Visitors are making their entrance. Could you lend a hand just this once? Father. Power is out. Cooking is not within our abilities. Where might you be? Address this promptly. Claire." Honestly, Nicole. Today holds a unique significance. Mom is on the verge of tears. No internet connection available. I'm unable to make any calls. I'm at my wit's end here. Could you please consider others more? I reclined. The warmth of my coffee had faded away. The writings did not provide me with a sense of vindication. They failed to meet my expectations. What I experienced was a profound void. An unyielding, serene void. Suddenly, the phone vibrated once more. Aunt Sharon is calling via video. The sole individual in the family who continued to send holiday greetings, despite my infrequent replies. After a moment of pause, I finally responded. The dim light of a phone flashlight illuminated her old kitchen as it came into view. She appeared weary, her eyes tinged with a hint of redness. "Nicole," she whispered gently. "Your mother is quite distressed. The dwelling is shrouded in shadows. People are bustling about. And nobody seems to have a clue about the next steps." I remained silent, merely gazing at her. She hesitated for a moment, then continued, neither blaming nor justifying. What transpired? You have always celebrated your mom's birthday without fail. I understand you have your motivations, but please express yourself. I inhaled deeply, maintaining a calm tone. My father remarked that I tarnished the family's reputation. He said that if I insisted on coming, I could no longer refer to him as my father. What do you believe my next step should be? Aunt Sharon stood still, her body rigid. Her expression shifted in a heartbeat. A cacophony of sounds echoed in the background. My mother exclaimed, "She's likely just pouting. It's unimaginable that anyone could be so cruel as to act in this manner." Then a more piercing tone. "Claire, Liam is nearly here. Can someone please contact the power company? I can hardly fathom what she put us through today." I offered a faint, joyless smile. Aunt Sharon was privy to it all. She offered no defense for anyone. Remained silent. Suddenly, the screen transformed in an unforeseen manner. A fresh presence emerged in the scene. Liam. Identical tidy attire. Consistent refined articulation as seen in his CV. He gazed at the screen, and without thinking he exclaimed, "Nicole?" All fell quiet.
So, Jure Nicole waren, the Person behind Pacific Genomics?
I acknowledged with a firm gaze.
Lengti sie längse.
Then Liam faced everyone gathered in the room. "She holds the position directly above me." And the individual who sanctioned my move to Boston left in stunned silence. Claire's jaw fell open in disbelief.
My parents stod still.
Silence enveloped the room. I responded with a sense of tranquility, "Wishing you the best for your introduction today." After that, I concluded the conversation. Once the call ended, I placed my phone down in silence. The soft afternoon light struggled to penetrate the heavy blanket of gray clouds outside the window. The stillness enveloped me, creating an atmosphere that seemed almost surreal. Silence reigns, with no messages, no follow-ups, and no calls to be heard. It was just me, enveloped in an unusual buoyant sense of relief, following a truth that emerged, not from my own lips, but from theirs. I had no intention of revealing anything about anyone. I chose to remain quiet and allowed events to progress in their intended manner. Liam had stated it unequivocally. I held a position of authority, being the co-founder of Pacific Genomics, while they mistakenly thought I was merely a desk worker. In that instant, my family's kitchen transformed into a theater where the facades crumbled, one after another, and no one could intervene. And Claire, my sister, the one who once confided in Mom that Nicole should choose a job that's simpler to explain, now stood motionless beside a birthday cake that hadn't even been lit. She put in so much effort to win over her boyfriend with hollow flattery and an idealized family image, yet ultimately, it was that same boyfriend who referred to me as boss in front of the crowd. The scene unfolded in my mind as if I were viewing a replay. My mother, in a state of fluster, almost let the cake tray slip from her grasp. My father, his face flushed, clutched the edge of the table tightly. The relatives, those who appeared solely for the feast and the scrutiny, sat in a hushed stillness, their eyes flitting about as they struggled to comprehend the unfolding events. Aunt Sharon remained on the call, her gaze transformed from curiosity to a deeper sense of respect. She offered little in the way of words, merely giving me a slight nod before the call came to a close. That evening, I received the initial message from Claire. Lengthy, chaotic, a blend of frustration and urgency. "You were aware of it from the very beginning, weren't you? You allowed it to unfold right in the midst of the celebration? Mother has been weeping throughout the night, and Liam finds himself at a loss for how to respond. Do you not find that to be rather harsh, Nicole?" The notification appeared on my screen, yet I chose not to engage with it immediately. I brewed a cup of ginger tea and settled onto the couch, allowing the steam to soothe the tension in my throat. I experienced neither joy nor guilt. After approximately 10 minutes, I finally decided to hit reply. "A brief note will suffice, no need to elaborate further. Did you really just call me cruel?" I found myself at home, surrounded by the familiar comforts of my space. The video call wasn't initiated by me. I never referred to myself as his superior. I didn't take any action. What if just one truth could shatter the entire celebration? Perhaps that gathering was never founded on anything substantial from the outset. I pressed the send button. I had no expectation of a response. 30 minutes later, my phone vibrated once more. This time, it was my mother.
The Kommunikation was brief.
I never anticipated you would opt for this method to retaliate against the family. I shut my eyes and reclined in my chair. Return? Was that their perception of this? I recall the moment I was excluded from a family gathering, feeling my identity as a daughter overlooked due to the perceived lack of prestige in my career. I recalled silently settling countless bills over the span of 2 years, with not a single inquiry made. I recalled the effort I put into seeking acceptance and love, but now I had reached a point of surrender. At approximately 10 p.m., an email from Liam landed in my inbox. Nicole, I regret that I wasn't aware earlier. Your work is admirable, and I appreciate the way you chose to remain silent today. I've never experienced such a deep sense of shame, yet it has nothing to do with you. I took my time to read it, then responded deliberately. Liam, there's no need for you to say sorry. Each individual holds the power to determine their perspective on others. Rest assured, I keep personal matters separate from my professional life, but I trust you see my perspective now. At times, the power of quietude is unparalleled. I pressed send, switched off my screen, and laid the phone face down on the table. Tomorrow, I will head to the office as I typically do. Reports awaited review, meetings called for preparation, and the world continued its relentless spin beyond the confines of the day. At this moment, there was a singular distinction. From this moment forward, those who once overlooked me would come to understand my true identity. And without a single shout, without any accusations, I had rendered them mute. The following morning, as I entered my office, sunlight streamed through the glass panels, creating a warm, golden ambience throughout the space. The atmosphere was serene, as though the cosmos had granted me a brief respite to inhale deeply before the clamor of the day resumed. I settled into my chair, switched on my computer, and accessed my email like I always do. Within the priority inbox, an unread message awaited attention.
Originator. Liam Prescott. I Presset IT.
Topic. I sincerely apologize.
Fahre well, Nicole.
I'm at a loss for where to begin, yet after last night, sleep eluded me. I have been contemplating. What transpired likely ought to have remained private, away from the gaze of the crowd. Yet, concurrently, I experience an unusual sense of clarity, particularly concerning you. I take pride in the fact that you are Claire's sister. I regret not recognizing her true self earlier. I cannot remain in a relationship devoid of fundamental respect. As of today, I am concluding my relationship with Claire. I appreciate your quiet presence yesterday. Thank you for your exceptional guidance. Calm yet powerful and just. Liam. I perused it twice, then reclined in my chair. I felt disheartened by Claire's breakup.
A Sensation wäschet over me.
Indeed. It felt as if, for the very first time, someone from the outside truly recognized the reality I had been enduring for years. The things I was told I was overly sensitive about, or too detached for remaining silent regarding. I chose not to respond. It was unnecessary. Approximately 2 hours later, while I was examining the financial summary provided by the finance team, my phone suddenly illuminated.
A Note from Claire.
Nicole, I understand you have a lot on your plate, but could you please have a word with Liam for me? He seems to be completely misinterpreting the situation. I gazed at the message, serene and unperturbed. I took my time to respond. Just a few minutes later, another message arrived. You hold the position of authority over him. Your impact is significant. If you express your thoughts, he might think it over again. I rose from my seat and approached the window, peering down at the bustling street beneath me. For all those years, I longed for a single message from Claire, just to see how I was doing during my times of pain. A single word of support during my moment of failure. Yet, there was an absence. With her relationship in ruins, she sought solace in my presence. Not to express regret, but to make it right. I settled back at my desk and began to type. Liam's departure had nothing to do with my words. He departed due to your true nature. And perhaps for the very first time, he truly perceived it. Claire took her time before responding. However, approximately an hour later, a fresh message came through. Indeed, you are correct. However, I truly wish to hold on to him. I promise to make a change this time, if you would be so kind. Only this time. I chose not to respond, not out of anger, but because I had reached a stage where further explanation felt unnecessary. As I departed from the office that evening, the brisk early spring air lingered, yet the sunset painted the rooftops in a rich orange hue. I strolled to the parking lot, taking my time, free from haste and concern. For what seemed like the first time in ages, a sense of lightness washed over me. I did not pursue vengeance. I had authentically embraced my reality and allowed everything else to unfold naturally. Claire had orchestrated this conclusion herself. And Liam, who had once been captivated by the illusion of an ideal family, had at last uncovered the underlying reality, the very one I had inhabited for the majority of my existence. That night, I revisited an old playlist, filled with the kind of music that once made me feel unseen during my early startup days. Yet this evening, the tunes resonated as a gentle confirmation. I emerged from the darkness. Not through shouting, but by maintaining resolve. And that's precisely what Claire, or anyone else in my family, had never anticipated. I no longer sought approval. I simply had to embrace my true self and pursue what I genuinely deserve. Approximately a week after the chaos subsided, on an unusual Sunday afternoon when I chose to leave my laptop untouched, the doorbell chimed. I was caught off guard, and I nearly brushed it aside. Yet, an inexplicable urge compelled me to peer through the peephole. My parents stood at the gate. I paused for a moment, allowing my thoughts to align with the scene before me. My mother clutched a small bag, her expression weary. My dad stood with his arms crossed, his eyes softer than they had been during our last conversation, yet still holding onto that familiar edge. The door creaked open. Remained silent. "Hey darling," my mom said first, her voice rough as if she had just stepped off a lengthy journey. "May we enter and have a conversation for a moment?" I quietly moved aside to allow them entry. There were no embraces, no cheerful hellos, only a profound stillness extending from the corridor to the lounge. I filled a couple of glasses with water and took a seat opposite them. My mom surveyed the apartment, neat and unadorned, devoid of any trace of my parents' presence. My father was the one who began the conversation. "What about your mom's birthday?" I expressed thoughts that were perhaps better left unsaid. I remained silent. He gazed at me, then proceeded, more deliberately this time. "Perhaps we have been somewhat tough on you. Since the breakup, Claire has been struggling, and your mom has been in tears constantly, so we thought it would be best to gather and have a family discussion." I remained silent, merely offering a slight nod. I was curious to discover the direction they were taking with this. I had grown accustomed to the extended anticipation before they finally revealed their true intentions. As I anticipated, my mom immediately stepped in afterward. "Indeed, we have a proposal to present." With a moment of uncertainty, she set the bag down on the table and retrieved a printed sheet from within. "We've carefully considered it. You found your footing, and your work situation is excellent. We would greatly appreciate your assistance with a monthly contribution, if you are able to help. Approximately $2,000 and no cents. Sufficient to meet living expenses, insurance obligations, and a bit for retirement savings." I gazed up at her. $2,000 per month? My father intervened, seemingly concerned that I might misinterpret the situation. "It may not seem like much for someone in your role. We are united, Nicole." I straightened my posture and maintained a calm tone. "What's the situation with Claire?" My mother paused. "She's struggling to cope after the breakup. She's feeling low. The current state of work leaves much to be desired. We shouldn't put any pressure on her." I released a gentle chuckle, not from resentment, but simply because it felt so recognizable. Claire was the one who remained unfazed, while I was the one who thrived under pressure. I gazed straight at them. "If Claire is on board to pitch in her share, $1,000, 0 cents each month, I'll take care of the remaining half. If that's not the case, I will require a legal agreement that explicitly outlines that upon your passing, all assets, including the house, will be transferred to me." The room was enveloped in silence. My father knitted his brow, his complexion turning crimson. Are you really placing conditions on your own parents? My mother let out a soft sigh and blinked slowly. Not circumstances. Fundamentals. I have invested almost $16,000, with no sense, into this family over the course of 2 years, yet not a single person has ever recognized it. For me to proceed, clarity is essential. My mother glanced at my father, her voice beginning to tremble. Perhaps we ought to discuss it further? He sprang from his chair, his hand crashing down on the wooden table, causing the glasses to tremble. After nurturing her for more than 2 decades, now that we seek a bit of assistance, she insists on a formal agreement? Incredible. I remained in my seat, my gaze fixed on him. Father, I am not in debt to you. If you believe that nurturing me was merely a transaction expecting dividends, we can certainly assess the outcome, step by step. But I refuse to remain silent any longer. He appeared ready to engage in a debate, yet he halted, his lips sealed firmly. My mother rose and softly pulled at his arm. Let us proceed. I also rose, accompanying them to the door.
No embraces.
Farewells are unnecessary. As the door clicked shut, a gentle breeze wafted in from the balcony, the only remnant of their presence. In that quiet moment, I understood. A new chapter had drawn to a close. This time, I crafted the concluding line myself. Following that day, my parents ceased all communication. Silence surrounds me, devoid of calls or messages. There were no accusations, nor was there even a hint of an apology for the outburst that had struck my home like a tempest. It was as though every setback they faced stemmed from the challenges posed by their troubled daughter. However, I found it to be quite expected. I had become accustomed to that particular kind of silence. The kind that arises not from shame or regret, but rather from individuals who struggle to articulate themselves when they find themselves out of control. I continued to navigate through my days. Serene mornings accompanied by coffee, intense discussions that stretched late into the night, finalizing agreements with partners who once questioned the capabilities of a young woman leading a biotech firm. And amidst everything, I ceased to carry the weight of guilt. I ceased to believe I was in the wrong for refusing to be the fallback financial support, the automatic caretaker, simply because I was capable of managing it. Ultimately, it's essential to realize that love isn't something that can be quantified by monthly installments, nor can it be compelled by obligation. If love is contingent upon financial obligations, then it cannot truly be called family. It's a deal. I began severing the unseen threads that bound me to the identities they had imposed upon me. I stopped using a family photo as my phone wallpaper. I forgot Claire's birthday. I didn't take the time to send a small token for the holidays. I no longer lingered over messages steeped in guilt. I discovered how to place the period on my own rather than waiting for them to initiate with an apology. During a team meeting one day, Liam, who has now taken on the role of our company's head of finance, entered with an investment report in hand. He approached his tasks with unwavering concentration, a high level of professionalism, and maintained a courteous distance at all times.
Our conversations never touched on Claire, not even a single time.
I truly valued that. There are certain truths that, once grasped, are often wiser to keep silent about. That afternoon, as I stepped out of the office, a light drizzle began to fall. I wandered into a well-known cafe, opting for a spot by the window.
A carvet wurden sein adornt the wall. Home transcends mere location.
At times, it comes down to a decision. I lingered, savoring a warm latte, contemplating the journey I had embarked upon. Once, I thought that by remaining silent, kind, and dependable, acceptance would eventually come my way. However, the reality is that if you allow others to become accustomed to treating you poorly, they will begin to view your efforts as mere duties and your quietness as consent. I decided to rise up. It's not about opposing my family, it's about safeguarding my own well-being. I decided to establish limits. Not out of selfishness, but because I have come to a profound understanding. Your value should never be determined by the fleeting compassion or demands of others. And if someone were to ask me, do you regret not helping your parents when they needed you, my answer would be, I regret that it took me so long to realize I deserved more than that. True family is where you are recognized as your complete self. It's not a wallet.
Not-A-Substitute.
Not the option for those who consistently prioritize others over you. I understand that my narrative may be challenging for certain individuals to embrace. In our society, turning away from family obligations is frequently perceived as a lack of gratitude. But consider walking a mile in my shoes. The daughter who was excluded for lacking the refinement needed for an introduction. The individual who invested tens of thousands in silence and never once received a response. Are you all right? I didn't select family in the conventional way. I made the decision for me.
How about you?
Do you believe I came across as too distant? Or have I finally discovered the art of self-love at the perfect moment? We'd love to hear your insights in the comments section. At times, your narrative could serve as the beacon for someone grappling with the balance between obligation and liberation. And if you've ever experienced solitude within your own family, trust me, you're not alone. Nicole's narrative serves as a poignant reminder that individuals are not bound to compromise their well-being for a connection that merely holds the title of family yet is devoid of respect. When you discover the importance of establishing boundaries, embrace self-love, and refuse to allow your kindness to be overlooked. That isn't selfishness.
That's progress.
Nicole chose not to pursue vengeance. She embraced a poised quietude to reaffirm her value. At times, the most resolute move is the initial stride toward genuine tranquility. What are your thoughts on Nicole's decision? Did she come across as too severe? Or was she merely shielding herself after enduring years of pain? We invite you to share your reflections below, and remember to follow the channel for more profound and impactful narratives about family.